Well, I'm delighted to have with me today Canon Yemi Adedeji, pastor, consultant, priest, writer. Really delighted to have you with me today, Canon Yemi. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
I wonder, just by way of introduction, whether maybe you could just tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're involved in to do with evangelism at the moment, because I know you're a very passionate evangelist. I heard you speak at the Advance conference back in January 2020, and so I've been keen to meet you ever since. But tell me about some of the things that you are involved in around evangelism at the moment.
Okay. With Evangelical Alliance, I'm one of the directors for the One People Commission. So part of what we do is integrating what does evangelism look like, especially for the churches who have come across the world in the United Kingdom, more like a reverse mission. So how do you evangelize in a community or in a context that's different from your world? What do you need to learn? How do you need to communicate in a way that the people you are communicating with will be able to accept and relate with you? So there's an aspect of that. There's also with the Hope Together with Roy Crown, Rachel Jordan Wolf as an associate director there. So that's more in terms of providing resources, equipping churches, raising mission champions to go beyond just church, but to engage with people through different means and through different method and lifestyle, basically, to do that. And then I would belong to so many prayer forums whereby all we just do is just cry out our eyes before God to see our nation come to know Jesus. And then personally for me, I'm just the walking evangelist. I always say to people, if you stay too long around me, there's no way I'll not ask whether are you a follower of Jesus, something like that. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And you mentioned when you were talking about your work with the EA about learning to communicate and the
Yeah.
importance of communication. And so I'm really glad that today we're going to be having a conversation around chapter 4 of my book, which is about how learning to communicate the way that Jesus did. What can we learn from the way Jesus communicates? But before I ask you about that, I just wondered whether you could share a little of your own story of encountering Jesus and your journey to faith.
Thank you. I wasn't born a Christian, so to say, like most people. I mean, that would have been the story of some other people if I was born in Nigeria. And my father was a Muslim, and I was named Abdul Razak when I was born. And so I perform all the Muslim rites that any good Muslim boy will have done. And my mother came from the royal family, which means you will be entrenched in the African traditional religion, full of sacrifices and all that sort of things. And irrespective of that, because of syncretism, you are supposed to go to church on Sunday. And I was a choir boy on the on Sunday. So,
I can
but,
picture it.
yeah, exactly. Sunday I'm a Christian. Monday to Thursday, I kind of help to perform some of the sacrifices, and on Friday I go to mosque. So really don't know what I was doing. But then my life went on like that. Of course, you just don't know what you're doing. But then my cousin, we went to university together. When we came out of university, he became a follower of Jesus. There was this peace, there was this calmness, there was this sort of you can't feel it, you can't touch it, but you know it's there, and you desperately want it. You really want it. And so I was denied, but at the time I thought I can't deny this anymore. So I asked him, where did you get this kind of calmness, peace, joy that surrounds you? I want it. I think I've tried smoking, drinking, doing everything. Doesn't it? I didn't get it. Where did you get it? I want to. So he then told me about. I said, come on, give me a break. I go to a church. He said, no, not that kind. It's about having this. Having this encounter with this great guy called Jesus, not that way that you think, but this is I say, okay, whatever. I just want to work with God, and I couldn't rest. I reckon because God will always plan a time for you. On one Sunday morning, I went to knock on his door. I said, I can't act it anymore. Take me to wherever you get this kind of a peace you have in you. So he said, let me get dressed. I said, I'm in a hurry. So So it took me to church. One of those days, one of those times in Nigeria where the charismatic church are really on a drive. It was like a revival moment. So there was this young doctor from one of the university who has become a pastor using a cinema. Then, you know, it was a taboo to use a cinema for a church. So using a cinema and a school to ram the top. I mean, powerful in terms of the way he shared the message like you've never had before. So I went into there that day, and from the moment I stepped in, I'm thinking I really belong here. So in my mind, you know, I'm thinking I just want him to make an altar call because I am so desperate to give. So the moment he made another call to say that you would like to have a fellowship with Jesus, I was telling people, please excuse me. So I literally ran to the front to say I'm desperate about these things. I guess God prepared me, and then I became a follower of Jesus from there. But then none of my members of my family were Christians, and so I was really talking a lot about him, sharing about Jesus. So they thought this guy must be mad. So they removed me from the main house and moved me to the back of the house where I don't have access to anybody to disturb them. But then an incident happened where my sister fell sick. Maybe she died or something, but she wasn't moving. I've told these stories many times. And then they asked me, because I was the only man in the house, to just move her aside so they can cover her up in clothes. So a crazy faith came upon me. So I moved her to the next room. And I thought, listen, the Bible says, if you pray for the sick and they can't be healed, this is the time. I guess God put all those things in my heart for the purpose of demonstrating his power. And that's one of the things that happen to evangelists at times. God will make miracle happen so that people will believe. So I just pray. A stupid prayer. I call it because it wasn't long prayer. It wasn't groaning, moaning. I just said, Lord, you know, I don't want my sister to die, but I'm going to pray now because I believe in you. Just whether she's dead or she's fainted or whatever, so I prayed, just like a 1 minute or 90 seconds prayer. Boom! She came up. I ran. Honestly, literally, Anna, I ran to the door because I didn't believe what I prayed. I didn't believe it's going to come true. She has to call me, come back. I'm like, are you kidding me? This can't be. I mean, shake your body, cough, do something. You can't just come up abruptly like that. That scared me. But I think it was a moment that God shows that even in our humanity, his divinity can be expressed. And when his divinity become expressed, it scares our humanity, because that's God in action. And so at that moment, people were banging the door, and I opened the door, and they saw her sitting. Oh my God! And I preached the gospel. I preached the gospel. and that day, nearly, or if not everybody, members of my family who are there at that moment, they have no reason not to believe in the living Jesus. So today, out of the four of us, for my for children, every one of us, we are priests.
I did not know your story before asking you that today. So I'm for once a little bit speechless. That's just an incredible story. I guess some people might say, but you know, I don't get those kind of opportunities. You know, go to work in the morning, I do my job, I chat to people at work, but you know, no one ever asks me about being a Christian, or no one ever comes up to me and says, you know, can you tell me about the Christian faith? How can someone just start? Where do you start with sharing your faith if you've never done it before?
Prayer. And why do I say prayer? I have an habit. Every time I am going abroad, or I'm going somewhere, particularly when I'm traveling abroad, I always pray this prayer: God, please open the doors for me, for the opportunity to communicate the gospel today, in whichever way, either at the bar or at the restaurant or the air hostess, but create the opportunity for me so that I can share the gospel. Now, here it is. You have prayed. When you pray, you have expectation. Prayer creates expectation, and the expectation there is that you are looking through the eyes of God every time. Oh, should this the person? She's this person. So when you pray, you create the opportunity for that to happen. Because my one of the things I say about life is God's default mode is to answer prayers. This is default mode. If you ask, He will answer. If it's according to His will. So, and because that is His own default mode, so it means if I say, God, open, and I can, and honestly, if I sit with you for the next 4 hours, I can tell you stories upon stories how that prayer God have answered, either in the gym, either in the shopping mall, either in the where God have actually answered that prayer. So I think for people, the first way to start is to ask God, please open the door. Like Apostle Paul in Colossians 4, I think it's verses 2 to 6. He said, pray that God should open the door for prayers and for opportunities, and to be able to share the gospel rightly, and seeking the time, redeeming the time, and to share the gospel with grace, with season, with soul, so that people may hear. So prayer first for God to open the door. And as simple as being in a restaurant, and then the waiter comes and say, is there anything at all? I'm a Christian. Is there anything at all that I can pray for you as you serve us? The only thing that we could say is no, nothing. But I bet you most of the time the answer is always yes. So I think it's about extending our faith in a more not in a intimidating or aggressive way, in a simple way. But yet, if you have prayed for it, when God opens the door, this is the door that God has opened, and then you explore it.
Yeah, I really like that. So there's prayer obviously works in terms of God's kind of action in our lives and in people's lives, but actually it makes us more open to the opportunities.
Absolutely.
We start to look for them, don't we? One last thing I'd love to ask you, Yemi, is your passion for Jesus just spills over even on this Zoom call. I can sense it, several hundred miles away, right from your first story of encountering Jesus. And I'd just love to know what has sustained you and kept that fire or that passion for evangelism kind of burning in your life over your years of ministry.
I think what has sustained me is I desire personally for me. I think I desire what makes my day anytime of my, you can give me any present, whatever, but what excites me is when God provides the opportunity for me to share the gospel. But then let me go back to what fuels the fire. There's nothing that fuels the fire for evangelism than prayer. It's as simple as that. What you pray for, God will make it happen. So if people who are saying, I don't know how to talk to people about Christ, I don't know anything about it, try praying first. That's what I'll say. Try praying for it. Try waking up or wherever you are or wherever you find yourself and say, God, I don't know what to do in this area, but I really want to. Please open. It's there in the Bible. It said, pray for God to open the door. You're not going to open the door. He opens the door. So if he said, all I need to just pray, then I open the door. And then you will then take advantage of the opportunity of the door that I have opened. So all I need to do is just to pray, God, please open the door for me. A postman comes and starts chatting with you. Your conversation goes to something else. Somebody comes to repair your boiler or your whatever in the house, and God is saying, make them a cup of tea or something like that. And it comes from conversation. I remember when we moved into our new house here, one of the prayer I pray is that everyone that will come into the house to come and do one thing or the other, Lord, please give me the privilege to have a conversation about you with them. So my strategy is very simple. So maybe somebody come to wash the carpet or paint. When they come, I'll say, can I make you coffee? Can I make you a breakfast? Can I make you this? So I will be so over the top in my hospitality and care. And I ask them, people like to be asked about themselves. So I ask them questions. What do you do? How's life with you? How's whatever their area of interest? But I'll be waiting for the mail where they will ask, what do you do? What about you? What are you? That is the killer moment. I'll say, oh, you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. I'm going to scare you if I tell you what I do. What is it? What is it? And then you create the inquisitive mind for them. Then I drop the bombshell. Actually, I'm in the business of guiding people and telling them about who can make them to be joyful, happy, and fulfill purpose in life. Who is that? So who is that? I said, because that's what makes me do what I'm doing. That's why I'll be conversing with you. He said, who is that? Then you then start the story that, my life doesn't used to be like this. Then you start the story of your whole life through the conversation. And as you are bringing the story to the end, I'm asking the question, do you want to come along journey with me? It doesn't take much. I'm just going to pray for you. That's what I do. I remember one guy that came to, I don't know whether an electrician or wash the carpet. I had this conversation with him. And he just said, no, I'll think about it. I'm not sure now. I'll think about it. And I paid him. He left. And I closed the door. About 2 minutes after, he knocked the door. And I opened the door. And he was on his knees by the door. And he said, I would like you to pray with me now. I didn't ask him to fall on his knees. I think he left the house. Something grabbed him and said, are you kidding me? You can't just leave. And he knocked the door. As I opened, he was on his knees. I will never forget that moment. Wow. And then pray with him. But he came in through conversation. Who are you? What do you do? How's life with you? And I can tell you stories of the gym, the boxer that I met in the pool. It just goes on and on and on and on. So it's an exciting thing. But it starts with prayer. Pray that for God to open the door. And then you will see when those opportunity comes, then take advantage of it because he has gone before you and you put the words in your mouth.
Oh, I love that. And the curiosity that you're creating in those
conversations. Yeah, curiosity. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love your stories and such wisdom from your experience of talking to people about Jesus over the years, woven through. Thank you so much, Canon Yemi, for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Bye for now.